Guys, we got some new gear. We got some new tech going on the boat, and it's a very important piece of equipment. It's the trolling motor. We got a new Garmin Force KRAKEN going on the front of the Alumacraft. But before we install that, I want to do some tests to compare it to my current motor. The Ultrex I've had for like the last 6 years by Minn Kota. Phenomenal trolling motor. It's what a lot of the pros use. I don't think it was necessarily best suited for this boat. The shaft is a little short for deep V boats. And then also having the pedal connected wasn't as ideal. If you had a bass boat, it's a lot better because that shaft is that much closer to the water. The thing about these boats, it's that much higher when it deploys. So if your prop's coming out of the water, it's not ideal. So obviously we're comparing kind of different types of trolling motor. Obviously Minn Kota has Kurovas with longer shafts. So anyways, I'm not bashing this motor. It's been phenomenal, but we're gonna try the KRAKEN and see if it's maybe a little more suited. First, we're gonna test the speed. Then I'm gonna try this other prop that I recently got from my buddy Mike Totoli. And then the main focus of this video, we're gonna put on the KRAKEN and I'll give you my first thoughts. We'll test it out, see how fast it is, and maybe we'll catch a couple fish. Directly into the wind. We got it on 10. We got the Dakota Lithiums rocking. We'll see what we have for speed. All right, so about 2 miles an hour. I did get another prop. I wanna try this other prop. All right, prop number 2 is on. We're gonna set it on cruise control. We were getting between 1.8 and like 2.1 before. Definitely faster. Woo! All right, well, that was impressive. We'll see if the Garmin can beat it. That was 2.5 miles on high into the wind. We gotta install the trolling motor. There's some other features I'm excited to try. Yeah, 2.5, that's decent. All right, we're gonna take this baby off. One thing you're gonna notice is how the live scope mounts. This one, you have to mount the cord on the outside of the trolling motor. I'm told the new Garmin, you're able to thread the live scope cord up the middle of the shaft. And then I sliced one of my live scope cords getting pinched in the trolling motor. So I'm excited to see that system and how it works. I would not recommend doing this over the water. We have the new Force KRAKEN. I'm told this might be the first one in Canada, so I'm pretty excited to try it out. This is brushless. It's the new technology. We'll see if it lives up to the hype. 75 inch, so there's 3 sizes. There's 63, 75, and 90. 75, I think, is gonna make sense for a lot of the deep V guys, the walleye guys. 90 is gonna be for your huge offshore saltwater type boats where you want a trolling motor. The 63, I think, will be for smaller deep V tiller boats. Like I said, I have a 60 on my current Alumacraft and it works, but in big water it comes out. So 75 is gonna be safe. If your nose is a little bit lower, you could get away with the 63. Look at this beast. That is a lot of trolling motor. Look at this thing. Oh, release the KRAKEN. I was Googling what Release the KRAKEN was from, and it's apparently from some movie years ago. Oh. First thoughts on seeing this, it is beefy. That is the thickest trolling motor shaft I've ever seen. Obviously because it needs to fit the live scope transducer up the front. There's some cool mounting options here that I'm noticing right off the top. Obviously for live scope, I can tell that's a big built-in transducer. Cool thing about this motor too, I've heard, you can do 24 or 36 volt systems. It's sweet, you don't have to run 3 batteries on your boat. So it's good for those guys in the smaller tillers that just run a 2 battery system. Oh, that prop is tiny. Wow, I thought they forgot the prop. That is a very small prop. We'll tighten that down more later though, but look at that remote. Oh, Hannon, look at this remote. We'll see if it can pass the baby test. I'll take that remote back, please. So what we probably need to do is figure out how this motor is going to deploy and then decide how we want to mount it off the edge of the boat. We got a storm coming in, so this might actually end things. We might have to revisit it another time. We're back, flash forward 12 hours later, but we're back. I did a little bit of work last night. We got the bracket off and then I put the quick release bracket on the bottom. I think this is new for the KRAKEN. You pull that out and then this little plate comes out. So that's the way you can quickly pull your trolling motor off the boat. Basically what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put the trolling motor on the nose of the boat. So I think like this, because I wanna drill both holes on this side of that beam. I don't wanna drill through that. Well, I can try drilling the second hole and see what happens. Okay, well, we're going swimming. I knew that was gonna happen. That's why I don't do it over the water. This sucks. We got Dad on the front of the boat. Oh man, the dad bod's in full effect. We have to blur this whole thing. What a body to blur. I'm gonna go change. I put dry underwear on. All right, so I just found out how the live scope cable works. We're gonna open up the head and it's gonna get passed through the shaft and then we're gonna wrap it back around the cord here. But we need to take a couple bolts off there, open up the bottom and then open up the top. All right, we're taking the last bolt out of the power head. We're just gonna let that rest there. I need to open up the top now. There's the business end. That's the data cable, that's the power lead, that's the transducer, so we're good. All right, we got that little collar off, so now it'll fit down the motor. Yep, now we're gonna pass these 3 cords through. I bundled them together. This is the power cords and the data cord. We're now connecting everything at the top, black to black, red to red. You know how it is. All right, one other thing I will mention is the cord was a little bit short for ours, so we did extend it by about 10 inches, which should be perfect, thanks to Father Laverne. Anyways, we got to run. This is it for today. Got a little more work to do on it yet, and hopefully we are installing it tomorrow. All right, so this video kind of shifted a bit from what I originally planned. I was gonna put it on, give you first impressions, that was gonna be it. But we had a couple delays, and then all of a sudden I was into filming mode, I fished a tournament, went on a muskie trip. But now we're back, so instead of first impressions, this is like 2 weeks in using the Force KRAKEN, and I will tell you, not paid to say this is my favorite trolling motor I've ever used. I will give you the pros, I'll give you some things that I think are cons as well. I think it's just good to have honest feedback on it, but I think the first thing you're gonna notice, one of the things that's talked about a lot, which you saw me install, was the live scope. So right here, you've got the live scope mount, you've got the cord running through the shaft. You saw me put that together. It's super clean, it is super nice. I will say the install is a little bit technical. If you're a technical guy, you'll have no problem doing it yourself. If you're not great with rigging and that sort of stuff, I'd probably get a shop to do it. The one con of that is if you do only have one live scope transducer, which I realize live scope is an investment, you are gonna have to take it out in the wintertime if you're an ice fisherman. So that's one extra thing that I'm thinking about. It's like, am I gonna have to take it out in the winter? It's gonna be an extra process. If you're, if you happen to have an extra transducer, you can leave it in the motor. Well, then it's one less thing to do, but just something to think about. But I love, love, love running it through the middle. This cord coming out here is the live scope. That's your power and everything else. So the live scope comes out and it runs around the power cord. So now when I deploy the motor, I never have to worry about the cords pinching. I noticed right away, so this motor is the size of the shaft it's big, it's beefy, which is good. It's strong. I think this thing is gonna be indestructible, but it is a little bit heavier and it gives a little more weight towards the end of it. So this is the 75-inch model. I think if you have the 75 or the 90, you are definitely gonna wanna have the support on here. It comes with the long metal bar right here. I actually shortened mine so I could put it on the Allumatrack system. And now, like, this is rock solid going across big waves. Do not have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about it putting extra stress on the nose of the boat. It opens up very easy to deploy the motor. I'm pressing down on the front here, pressing down, and then it drops. But something else I want to mention that I noticed is a really cool design is how it drops down. So this collar, easy to loosen up, slides really good, but it's in a track system. And how it works is this is a curved fitting and it's a curved fitting at the bottom. So in the past, the trolling motors would be a 90-degree fitting and sometimes it would miss. So you would try spinning your motor around for it to drop in and it would miss. Now with that curved fitting, it kind of slides in no matter what. So watch this. It seems like a smoother system for it engaging. As far as controlling the motor, I mean, there's a few different options. It comes with a remote. The remote's great. I would say I don't use the remote a ton. It's obviously got a ton of functionality, but I'm more of a pedal guy. So something you should know is the pedal you got to buy separately. It's a little bit smaller pedal than my last one. It runs off 2 AA's and I can put it anywhere in the boat. So in the past, I've been tied to the front. And if you guys just remember how the front of my boat looked before, there was more cables, the trolling motor had a bigger footprint, the pedal was fixed to that position. So now I just feel like there's a little more freedom because now with this pedal and with this room on the front triangle, I can fish on the front here and I can use the pedal. It's just more real estate. The other cool thing is I know a lot of muskie guys do it. They'll bring the pedal to the back corner. That's how they'll guide. They'll have their graphs turned towards them and they'll run it from here, which is great. Then the other guys get the first cast at the fish. You're still able to cast yourself. But that's where it comes to one of the cons. The way that the power knob is set up is it's like an infinity knob. You can just keep spinning it. It doesn't have 1 to 10 like other trolling motors might be used to. When I roll this up or down, you can see 1 out of 10. So maybe it's something in the future a different pedal will address. But if I'm in the back of the boat, I don't necessarily know what speed I'm at. So either you need to come and look or the guy in the front needs to tell you, because on our last muskie trip, that was just something we noticed, that the guy in the back of the boat is like, hey, what's my speed at? Because if you're just rolling this, you don't know if you're at 10 or if you're at 5 necessarily. So one minor issue, but not really a big deal. Huge fan of the pedal. That's your course lock. That's your anchor lock. and that's your constant, and then that's just your momentary stop and start. Like just watching the responsiveness with my foot compared to the motor, it's ridiculous fast. You go all the way forward, all the way back. It's pretty instant. The other thing that I really like, and we'll show this yet because we'll do a little bit of fishing, is just how minuscule of a movement I can make with it. Like with a very minor foot movement, I'm able to just dial in perfect, which I think is going to be pretty important if people are using it for live scoping and finding fish. You want to make sure you're perfectly lined up. And the nice thing I know is, obviously wherever that arrow is pointing is where my live scope transducer is pointing, so then I can see that's where I need to cast, that's where the fish is. Another really cool feature that I think has been overlooked a little bit is that you can use, if you have a Garmin watch, you can actually use it for functionality for spot locking and stuff. I think that's super, super smart. I think that's just the way things are gonna go with integrating with everyone's devices and stuff. So anyways, that was a lot of talking. Let's see how fast we can go. I think we were in bigger winds last time, granted, but in that 2 to 2.5 mile an hour range. So we're gonna crank this up, see how fast we can get, and then we're gonna go catch a couple fish, call it a day. This thing has got some torque. You got to make sure it's properly fast in the front of their boat or you're going to rip some stuff off. And I think with trolling motors getting more powerful, that is something boat manufacturers are going to have to look into. There's a steel plate on the bottom of this Alumacraft, which I'm very thankful for. But yeah, make sure you have it locked down good. We're going with the wind now. We'll see what sort of speed we can see. 4.5, 4.6. Going into a light breeze about 4 miles an hour with the wind, 4.5 miles an hour. That's a 20-foot boat with a 200 on it. So pretty impressive. Here's another cool feature I noticed is when you press the release button to lift the motor, it'll actually automatically straighten out the motor. Just I press the button, boom, it's ready to lift. That kind of surprised me the first time I did it. And you slide it all the way in there. Look at that, right behind that boulder, 30, 35 feet. So I love having the arrow on the trolling motor now. So now I can just tell it's gonna swing back and forth a little bit like motors do. But yeah, I have been impressed with the spot lock. Just talking about that function of it. It's so smooth. If it ever like spins a lot in one direction, it quickly does a 360 to correct itself and keeps you on location the whole time. I would say the best way to describe it is just, it's a very smooth spot lock. It's very accurate, but it also doesn't jolt you around, which is something that I've just noticed with different motors over the years. So watch this, I'm gonna spot lock faced in the opposite direction. And look how smooth it is when it turns. Like no massive jerky motions, which is pretty cool. So here, check this out. We're gonna do another little test of the spot lock. I'm on 10 right now. We're gonna cruise and I am gonna just spot lock with a ton of momentum and we'll see how it spins the boat around. We're gonna spot lock here. Pretty smooth. Doesn't feel like it's gonna throw you out of the boat. And there are fish right underneath us. I'll see if I can just drop down on these. See the drop shot going down? I'm just drop shot in a gulp minnow. You know, I know that there's lots of value to the pole mount, and I do have a pole mount in the boat as well for live scope, but having on the trolling motor is just so convenient to drop it in and to be able to search quickly. Ooh, that fish is coming down for it. Staring at it. Smallie. Gone. We'll move a little bit. And then just to kick it out of spot lock, you just put your foot on the pedal and it gets you moving, but we'll do a little more scanning around here. There, just loaded. Small walleye. There you go. Gorgeous. There's a nice mark right under us. We'll see if I can get in front of him. Oh, he's chasing it. All right, guys, well, that's pretty much it. Final thoughts. This motor is an absolute beast. It is the best trolling motor I've ever used. I haven't compared it to the other new ones because I haven't tried them. So just compared to what I've used, it's a pretty impressive unit. The amount of power, the spot lock, it's funny. It's like, how can it get better? But it keeps getting better. That's with all technology and fishing, right? Couple of my favorite parts, the live scope integration through the trolling motor shaft, but probably number one would be the wireless pedal that I can move around. I know that's not particular to the KRAKEN, but in the past, being tied to the front front with the pedal has been tough for me, so now I can move it around. And then also just having a longer trolling motor shaft. Don't have to worry about it coming out of the water. I can fish big waves, stay on spot, catch more fish because of it. So anyways, check out the KRAKEN, wear your life jackets, and I'll see you on the water.